After a long and fairly disjointed season for the Michelin Le Mans Cup, we have reached the Algarve International Circuit for the final race of the season. 1 hour and 50 minutes ahead of us, and slightly unusually for this championship on a Sunday rather than a Saturday night. Bright and early, in fact, on Sunday morning, due for a 9 o'clock start local time. But as you can see, it's most untypical weather for this time of year, and the Algarve normally, October and possibly just into November, treats us with some late year sunshine. But the storm that has been battering the western coast of much of Europe over the last half of a week or so, it has returned, despite there being a brief window for better weather yesterday. And it looks like we may well be set for this type of rainfall, whether it be light or heavy, through the course of today, which also includes the final race of the year for the European Le Mans Series. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to Portugal, where we were all advised to come for a bit of late 2023 sunshine. My name's Johnny Palmer. It's Graham Goodwin alongside of dailysportscar.com, and we've brought our brollies today, Graham.
I did bring my brolly. It's now in Spain. I think the bigger issue, as we look at this, is the final event of the calendar. It's started in Barcelona in 22nd of April, my birthday, through the road to Le Mans, Le Castellet, Aragon, Spa-Francorchamps, now here in Portimão. It is the rain that's going to be the issue this morning for the Michelin Le Mans Cup, without a shadow of a doubt, Johnny. It is the high winds, though, that are the bigger concern later in the day. So do keep your eyes on the social media channels for the European Le Mans Series if you're planning to join us later today for any changes that may take place for that timetable. At the moment, no changes to report. The only change this morning is there'll be much shortened grid procedure. You'll see there'll be no grid walk this morning. I don't think many people would want to be out there this morning. So sadly for fans actually here, it is going to be a matter of keeping dry, keeping warm, keeping safe, because you and I have both had the rather excellent service of the Portuguese government with weather warnings that does say, basically, protect yourself. That is supposed to be very, very windy indeed in just a few hours' time. But we hope we can get this race both underway and completed, and to complete what's been, let's call it a spectacular season.
Yes. No, I use the word disjointed only because at the start of the year, everybody had expected to go to Imola in May, and because of rebuilding work, development work that was taking place in that part of Emilia-Romagna, we couldn't take the visit as the second race of the year for the Michelin Le Mans Cup. So then it was straight to Le Mans for the two Road to Le Mans races, a couple of months after we got started in the northeastern part of Spain. Another round in France at Le Castellet at the end of July, and then the surprise visit to Motorland Aragon, because these cars weren't originally due to travel to Alcanis. Spa last month, and now Portimão, and there was a bit of rainfall certainly in the Ardennes Forest in Belgium. It's fairly typical there, but unlike this part of the world. Now, a story from yesterday: because of the qualifying being held in wet weather conditions, we had the most unusual scenario, never been done before, that a GT3 car was faster in qualifying than an LMP3 car, Graham.
Indeed, Alex Martin, it was at the wheel of that car, and woulda, shoulda, coulda, been on pole position. Decision has been made because of the prevailing weather conditions to put in a class split. So the LMP3 cars, all 28 of them, will start ahead of our dozen GT3s. So I can tell you Team Parker Racing are very disappointed with that decision, but it's been done on the basis of safety, and we'll see just how all this pans out. This is the 4.65 kilometre Portimão circuit, 3 timed sectors. Two of them very quick indeed. One with the tricky hairpin, always tricky to get the power down there, quite often a site of incident, heavy braking and then heavy acceleration. And then the third sector, Johnny, all about this, what is it, double, triple, quadruple apex, right-hander, that was such a big part of qualifying for the Michelin Le Mans Cup and the European Le Mans Series yesterday.
Yeah, it's a special part of this racetrack in that each of the sectors are so different from one another. You certainly need mechanical grip through the middle sector. That's the hairpin all the way around to the top of Portimão corners, the double right-hander at the highest point of the circuit through turns 10 and 11. A chance to have a look at Hiroshi Hamaguchi's Lamborghini that also was faster than all of the LMP3s yesterday. So we could, in another scenario, have had all front row of GT3 cars, but I think the more sensible decision really is to split the grid. But if you go back to the grid at Spa that we had, there were a number of LMP3 cars behind GT3s, and that is the usual way to grid these cars up. There's the Aston Martin that leads the championship, Arnold Robin and Valentin Hasclaux on 79 points. So they currently have a 12-point lead over the Hiroshi Koizumi and Kei Cozzolino Ferrari number 51. And there are the points as we stand heading into the final race of the year.
Yep, so all sorts of things up for grabs here. Lots of plans being made, not just for this race and this championship, but also for what's coming next year. Where might we see Racing Spirit of Le Mans and their Aston Martin? Might they be looking at a step up? Well, and two, where might we see Guillaume Henrion with Team Virage aboard the car with team principal Julien Gerby, and they've been dominant this year. Reigning champion in the Ligier European Series, 22 points to the good. They will be desperate to keep it on the island and keep it in the points.
It is a decent chunk, though, to be leading by. They increased their championship lead by a further point, of course, with the pole position of Julien Gerby. It doesn't matter whether he was faster than the GT3s or not. You still get the point for being front of the class. And overnight, he was given the news that he would be starting at the very front of this 40-car field. So 73 points, plays the 51 of Fabien Michal and Kirill Smal of CD Sport. But it's a CD Sport car alongside the pole sitter. We'll get to that. Oh, in fact, we'll get to that right now, because this is not the car that is the best placed from the CD Sport camp in the championship. But nevertheless, they could, I suppose, do them a little bit of a favour. The number 11 car will be started by Shahan Sarkisian, who qualified so well yesterday, the Lebanese driver.
Yes, indeed. No doubts whatsoever, of course, every single car on wet tyres. We don't have to go through that debate. Sopping wet out there. There is still steady rain falling. It's not torrential rain falling this morning, Johnny.
Certainly not.
But you know, enough to basically, as the first light of day creeps through the crack in the curtains, shuffle back under the duvet for an extra snatched minute or two. But nothing to stop us being here and getting stuck into this. This is the Team Tour car, the number 77 car. Auden Gudmundsson, Icelandic driver, will start the car. Colin Noble it will be later on, DKR Engineering. And a team with huge history in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Just about to see the top of the hill there with the windmill, the wind turbine at the top. Oscar Pitar aboard the 59 Team Virage car. He's had quite the weekend so far. An awful lot of track action, Johnny, over the last few days. It is a feat of memory to remember which session was which. We've had already qualifying for 2 European Le Mans Series races, a full European Le Mans Series 4-hour race, qualifying, of course, for the Michelin Le Mans Cup, as well as a double-header for the Ligier European Series, and the Radical World Finals, by the way, also on the bill here. And we've still got an hour and 50 minutes this morning and 4 hours this afternoon to roll through before we can all go and have a celebratory adult beverage.
Indeed, because the championship celebrations and presentations will be taking place tonight for all of the series, but obviously crucially for the European Le Mans Series as the headline event, and that's one of the reasons why the Michelin Le Mans Cup is held on a Sunday for this one meeting alone. Looking at Tony Wells in the number 7 Nielsen racing car, there's an indication of perhaps the weather to come over the next hour or so. The number 7 car has had a trying spell during this championship campaign, so actually down in 19th position in the championship, but a chance from 5th place certainly to score well. Chris Short, who had at least one spin in qualifying yesterday, but did neaten his lines up after that. As now we look at the ACO president, Pierre Fillon, to the left of your picture, and the CEO of the European Le Mans Series and the Michelin Le Mans Cup, Frédéric Luquin. As I was walking over here to the commentary booth, Pierre was just arriving, and I think he timed that perfectly because it meant that he could go straight to the grid and not have to stand in the rain for too long.
Absolutely. It's a 25 car, 360 Racing, Mark Richards and Belen Garcia. Solo female driver in this race. It will be Mark to start the car. 360 Racing, 2-car entry in the Michelin Le Mans Cup this year. I'm sure they'll be looking to put at least one of those into the LMS next year again. They've been regular visitors on the LMS paddock. Returning this year, Murphy prototypes the 48 Duquesne. And it's Torsten Kratz, who's been a form driver in LMP3, who will be the start driver for this car. Smart livery, pretty much unchanged. I've said it before and I'll say it again. He'll criticise me for doing it again. Greg Murphy lacking any imagination whatsoever.
I think he has a problem generally with anything we say. I'm not sure we can be on safe ground, so you might as well just embrace the insult, frankly. The 87 car is Adrian Schiller in the Cool Racing offering. He will start from 9th position on the 5th row, the inside of the 5th row, with pole position being 2 drivers right as you sit on the grid. Ben Stone to start the number 13 Inter Europol competition car, with Santiago Concepcion Serrano to take part in the second stint. It's a minimum drive time of 45 minutes these days in the Michelin Le Mans Cup, and partway through you'll have to do a pit stop, and that is going to take you 165 seconds today. It's dependent, of course, on how long the pit lane is, but irrespective of whether you're in the LMP3 or the GT3 category, you have to do those 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
Yeah, it's heading south out of the top 10 at the moment through the 97 Cool Racing car now. The 39 from Graf Racing, James Swetnam, it will start. It was Luis San Juan, the wheel of the 97 Cool Racing car. Next up, by the way, if we get to see them, is going to be the race winner from last time out. And that was United Autosports and their number 23 car. There is the 23 Ligier. It will be John Schaumann at the wheel. I've not managed to catch up with John, but he did make it clear at the start of this season, has made it clear more than once during this season, that this will be his last season, and therefore this could be his last race. That said, he was so pleased with the last race meeting, he may have changed his mind.
Well, that's true. When you get a very, very good result, as in a win at Spa-Francorchamps, then there may well be some thinking to be done over the winter, because it might be the start of a really good set of results. Often find that in this championship, just takes a bit of time, as in a few years actually, to really get to grips with how the races work. So let's have a look at the grid in detail. Julien Gerby just requiring a top 8 finish with his teammate Julien Omrion from pole position, is joined by Shahan Sarkissian for CD Sport. Auden Gudmundsson also in contention for the championship, although it is an outside bet, with the 77 Team Tour car starting 3rd alongside Oscar Bitar for Team Virage. Then it's the 7 Nielsen Racing car of Tony Wells, Chris Short alongside, making it an all-British 3rd row for Inter Europol competition. Mark Richards, another Brit for 360 Racing, joined by German driver Torsten Kratz, who hails from Mönchengladbach. Adrian Schiller of Cool Racing, Frenchman in a Swiss car alongside Ben Stone. Then it's Louis Saint-Juin and James Swetnam for Cool and Graf Racing, respectively. John Schaumann, Spa-Francorchamps winner, alongside Peter de Kertens for Hegley by T2 Racing. Terence Woodward in the second 360 Racing car is 15th. Christian Gysi for Racing Spirit of Le Mans alongside. Then the MV2S racing car of Philippe Chimidomo and Fabien Michal for CD Sport. They're second in the championship. DKR Engineering's Alexander Bukantsov is 19th. Christoph Cresp in the second MV2S racing car, 20th. Edex Sport and United Autosports represented on the next row for Patrice Lafargue and Jerry Kraut. It's Jonathan Brossard for ANS Motorsport in the number 6 car, with Andres Latour-Canon for Inter Europol competition in the slightly unusually liveried car. That's grey and black. Then Rinaldi Racing on next for Steve Parrow and George Nakas for Graf Racing. 24/7 and Nielsen Racing complete the LMP3s for Andrew Ferguson and John Melson. There's the pole sitter for GT3. Team Parker's Alex Martin, Hiroshi Hamaguchi alongside in the 63 Lambo. It is the Racing Spirit of Le Mans Championship leading Aston of Arnold Robin and Gabriel Rindoni for Lippert. Tim Kresick and Thomas Anderson for HCR with Caffeine 6 and GMB Motorsport. Lippert Motorsport's Greg Gorski and Hiroshi Koizumi in the 51 AF Corsa Ferrari. They are second in the championship with Kei Cozzolino. AF Corsa's Jean-Henri Samani in the Zebra AF Corsa Ferrari. Sylvain Quintoli is a real story for Stella Motorsport, the motorcycle expert, coming to four wheels, much like Vali Rossi is doing at the moment. GMB Motorsport, Lars Engelbrecht Pedersen, alongside Nick Jones in the newer of the two Team Parker Racing Porsches. Complete a 12-car GT3 lineup and 40 cars all told, Graham.
Well, the good news is the rain stopped. So that's great news for the moment. How long that stays the case. And hearing from Steph that it definitely hasn't, so apologies, but certainly in parts of the circuit we're seeing people without umbrellas. So I think it's just that little rain cloud that stays over Steph all the time.
I couldn't possibly comment. She's a little ray of sunshine whenever I speak to her.
She is a little ray of sunshine, and I think she's done all she can not to be blinded by the undeniable glamour of international jet set motorsport.
That's true, yes. And I know for a fact, chatting to her last night, she was really looking forward to a day in the wet weather today in a fireproof suit as well.
I can, you know, as I kind of close my eyes, I can just see the Steph Wentworth face while she's telling you that story.
Yes.
Steph will, of course, be with us throughout the day, and you'll be hearing and seeing her in particular when we get to European Le Mans Series action. She's been a great addition to the team this year. Real fun throughout the season. And we wait now for the start, which will be under the safety car. 3-minute board is due in about 25 seconds. And not long after that, we will be getting underway for some race action on this Sunday morning.
There is a chance, I suppose, that this race doesn't quite get to full distance, and we'll have to talk about 75% rules, even 50% rules. But let's keep our fingers crossed that even though the rain is still pounding down to an extent on the pit road, I mean, this is manageable rain at this stage. We may need the odd safety car to tidy a few things up, but otherwise, hopefully we can get to the end. There were the points as things stand going into the final race in GT3. And again, it's been a real tussle, but it's Racing Spirit of Le Mans that have 79 points from the AF Corsa Ferrari, number 51, as I mentioned, of Hiroshi Koizumi and Kei Cozzolino. So that's a gap of 12 points, only then 2 back to HCR with Caffeine 6, and Lippert Motorsport are on 60 points. And they are the 4 that are still just about within touching distance of taking victory, with the 25 points on offer for a win, whether you're in GT3 or LMP3.
So grid is cleared with the exception of the required officials and a single driver helper for each of these crews. So not long now before the cars will be released. It's in car 27, by the way. That's a 24/7 motorsport car of Andrew Ferguson, under investigation for the race start countdown procedure.
So that's either related to getting the car out of the pits on time or
joining the grid.
Joining the grid. We're now at a point where there's just one member of the team allowed next to the car to make sure the car starts when the next minute board is shown. So did they have too many people on the grid, too close to the 3-minute board being shown? There is a 1-minute board then in the next 20 seconds, which will be the cars firing into life, and then we can really get in the mood for this final race of the season. We've had 2 55-minute races at Le Mans as part of the Road to Le Mans. All the other events, though, are real endurance cases with 1 hour and 50 minutes. The Nissan engines can just about do that distance. Here is the 1-minute board then, the siren accompanying it, and the engines will fire into life.
28 Nissan V8s and a variety of power units amongst a dozen cars in GT3. Hashtag Let's Go Racing. It's a moment to button it all up on the 28 car.
30 seconds board, 30 seconds on the grid.
Now, the fact that we are so close to 9 o'clock, does that indicate that the race is actually going to begin behind the safety? We know that, do we already?
My guess is it will.
Okay.
We'll
I
see.
was unsure then whether you'd actually already said that, and
No,
I'd been
haven't.
ignoring you like it was standard, really.
I think it's the only sensible option, to be honest with you.
9, 8,
So
7,
yes, the race
6,
due to start
5,
at 9, so
4,
I think it's
3,
sensible, really, just to
2,
allow everybody
1.
the chance
Race
to...
started behind safety car.
Yeah, there we go.
And
So
the clock is
confirmation of the final race of the season for the Michelin Le Mans Cup here at the Algarve International Circuit. We are technically racing here with 1 hour and 50 minutes starting to tick down. But I would imagine only a very small handful of laps to allow everyone to realise where the grip is and, more importantly, where it is not. And then we will be properly racing for the finale of the Michelin Le Mans Cup this year. And regardless of it being at a relatively small, short pace, slow pace, the cars and the engines particularly sound absolutely glorious. Leaving the main straight, I should say, and into turns 1, 2, and 3. This is the short straight that runs between turn 4 and 5, which is very much up and down, particularly at the end where you're hitting the brakes, but the road dropping away from you. And I think important in the early stages, certainly to stay off that inside curb and maybe give it a car width or two, because all the water is collecting on the inner section of this turn 5. We'll see a lot of unconventional lines, I think, for the first few laps. Absolutely.
The other thing to remember, by the way, is if any of these cars do get off the racing surface, it's been raining a lot this week. The ground is sodden. The one plus side, if you go off and not at too much speed, is it's highly likely you can drive through these gravel traps. We have seen that a number of times in the last couple of days, but the rain in the early part of this week was absolutely torrential, and we've had regular rain ever since, Johnny. Not really had a day that we would normally expect here at Portimão. Usually a really pleasant place in terms of the weather to finish the season, but this 40-car train of cars will continue behind the safety car, gives all these drivers an opportunity to scout out just exactly where the worst of the water on track is.
And the worry, I suppose, for the LMP3 leaders, once they are able to go at race speed, is how quickly are they going to catch the GT3s, and then how much offline are they going to need to go. Also, it'll be side by side, no doubt, with the front runners early on, and sometimes in a battle you kind of put onto parts of the road that you really don't want to be. And we've seen at a number of points around this circuit, notably turn 11, where you can overtake around the outside, and if you do decide to stick to the inside line and make the corner too acute, you can easily spin the car out going at a relatively slow speed. Turn 3 is somewhere that might happen, certainly turn 4, and then at the top of the hill where the car goes light through the Portimão sequence of corners at 10 and 11. The safety car LED boards still flashing at the moment, so at least one more safety car lap. Everyone will get fair warning that the safety car is about to come in, because the lighting bar on the roof of the Mercedes will be extinguished, and that will tend to happen around turn 14 to give them ample warning. And also everybody else in the pack needs to be able to know that we're about to go for a race start as well. But I reckon probably this lap and maybe one more at the very least, Graham.
I think so. They will just want to make sure everybody's comfortable with these conditions. That's the key here. They are backing them up a bit here. But no, safety car still at pace, so whether or not there's been a little bit of an incident in the pack.
Please maintain the 5 cars length gaps, please.
Yep, so race control, making it clear they want this in an orderly fashion.
So that is not being 5 car lengths or more away from a rival car. So make sure the gaps are reasonably nicely bunched. The problem is you want to try and stay out of the spray and quite possibly out of the heat of the car, of the heat that's coming off the car in front of you, which may well affect yours, of course, at slower speeds, although the ambient temperature is nice and low here at the Algarve International Circuit. And with every turn of the wheel, everybody's working out where they might be able to push on this opening racing lap. Don't quite know, of course, when that's going to happen. The other thing is, this is potentially buying them fuel mileage as well. Absolutely. It's also counting towards the drive time, and predominantly, if not all, the cars have started with their bronze-rated drivers, so it will be a question of getting those bronzes out as early as
I think it's every single car has got a bronze driver in it.
I wouldn't be surprised. And either then silvers or golds to move to during the pit stop. There is no rule, or certainly when a safety car is sent out during the middle of the race, that closes the pit lane. We don't have the same rules as we have in the ELMS, for example.
To go full speed.
So full speed from the safety car. Too late, surely, though, to be winding things up at the end of this lap, which will be the completion of lap 2. So it will be at least one more, but the speed now being picked up by the safety car. And that, again, is for the rest of the cars, the racing cars, to try and build the tyre temperature and certainly brake temperature as well.
So the Mercedes-AMG pace car ups the pace, the safety car ups the pace. And someone off this, Steve Parrow, is the 17 car, is Patrice Lafargue. And that's a problem, because he's not going to get that car out.
So race control deciding exactly what to do about that. It's somewhere in the final sector. The Edex Sport car losing it. Is it right before turn 15, the final corner?
It is in turn 15.
Okay, so he got it partly round turn 15. Although hasn't made the main straight, as I read that. There is a big gravel trap all the way around the left-hand side of the final corner. And
for information, we have a car in the gravel bed T15. We will keep the safety car on track for the moment. We have a car in gravel bed at T15.
Quick shot there of the assembled photographers. I'm sure ready for the start shots. The regular parade of dripping misery that is our ELMS press pack. The guys with the long lenses. This is very easy for me to say here in their condition.
Isn't it just? Yeah, we're in complete comfort on a Sunday morning, enjoying this action, and about to unleash the cars, or at least we were. The fact that the Edex Sport car, the Lafargue car, is in the gravel has rather scuppered the plans to get going at the end of this lap. Here is Sylvain Guintoli making a pit stop for Stella Motorsport. That was only 55 seconds, though, so will not tick off his longer stop.
I just wondered what that was all about. Was there a tyre problem? Was there a vision problem?
Well, if there is a slight issue and could be quickly solved, this is the time to do it.
So approaching T15, we'll have double yellow flag. We have an intervention team on the left-hand side of the track. Entry T15, we have a car in the gravel bed.
So already under a safety car, of course, which does give some protection for the team to recover the 17. I think that should be just a quick pull out the gravel and back on track. Here is Sylvain Guintoli. This gentleman lives in the UK but firmly French. The 2014 World Superbike champion and double winner of the 24H motor, the 24-hour round of the Endurance World Championship on motorcycles, back-to-back wins in very recent years, and he starts now an adventure into international four-wheeled motorsport. Could he be the first person to take a class win over 24 hours on 2 and 4 wheels at Le Mans?
Yes.
Of course, we've got Valet Rossi likely to be taking part in the FIWC this year, but Valet has not won over 24 hours at Le Mans before on 2 wheels. So all sorts of personalities from the world of motorcycle racing taking a look at modern endurance racing now.
It's exciting times because, you know, obviously there are a lot of people that are firmly engrossed in two-wheel competition, but possibly because it's a more physical type of motorsport on the bikes than perhaps your time within those disciplines are slightly more limited in terms of age. So basically, you know, Rossi, once he's passed it on a bike, comes across the cars. I couldn't possibly comment about Sylvain Guintoli, but it might be a similar situation. But it's really good to have them coming into the ACO rules package and discovering how competitive it is, and how fulfilling as well it is to take pole positions, and in case of Rossi, a race victory at the Road to Le Mans earlier this year as well.
We've got to be quite careful, by the way, as does our French colleague nearby, another booth. Apparently Guintoli is quite the commentator on MotoGP.
Oh, safety car has been instructed once again to go full speed.
So we've got to watch our backs, in other words.
Yeah, I thought he gave me a funny look.
Yeah. He wants your seat, mate. That's
Look,
what it is.
You'll have to fight me for it, and that won't take long, will it, really? I'll just sit on him. But lovely guy, lovely team, Stella Motorsport. Let's see where this takes us. Some news to come from them about plans for 2024 as well, as there are from very many teams across this paddock. Lots of news. Keep an eye on the series social media and your chosen source for endurance racing news.
It's a reminder to all teams that we will not be answering any private message on Discord as usual.
Yeah, it's not Tinder, guys. It's race control.
Well, the problem with that is that they'll get so many different questions, so many different requests for answers that you know, it's a very time-consuming task, and they need to be dealing with the race as a greater picture. Safety car won't be in at the end of this lap, but may well be in a further lap's time around this 4.6-kilometre Algarve International Circuit. Also a reminder that when the pit stops do take place, the pit stop reference time, of course, must be adhered to, which is 165 seconds this weekend, but also you have to do a driver change, you have to do a tyre change, and you have to refuel the car during that stop to tick it off.
Correct.
For the officials to recognise it as a legitimate stop.
One little bit of housekeeping, both the 42, in the hands of Sylvain Guintoli, and Patrice Lafargue have joined the back of the safety car queue, though Lafargue has dropped a lap to that misadventure into the gravel at turn 15. Don't think it's going to be too much longer, Johnny, before they allow this to get going. Full speed for the safety car again. And might this be, keep an eye on those that light bar, and then let the games begin, we hope.
Yeah.
Just a word, by the way, for Guillaume Henrion, who'll be taking over this car from Julien Gerby, Team Virage. What a season he's had. Dominated Ligier European Series in 2022, and he and Julien Gerby have done a fine job.
Don't forget about the 5 cars lengths gaps between each car. One line of cars with 5 cars lengths gap between each one of you.
So there are some slightly tighter gaps than that, but as long as you don't extend beyond the 5 cars, I think generally that's okay.
Yeah, he just wants to keep it neat and tidy,
yes,
so that we can get the race underway, and nobody is doing anything silly to just anticipate what's happening at the start of the grid. You've got the cars effectively accelerating evenly, rather than somebody halfway through turn 15 burying the throttle. We've seen that go wrong before.
Well, we've also seen situations where the leading car starts to go, as we get confirmation that the safety car will be in at the end of this lap, lap 5. So we will be racing this time into turn 1. But the danger for Julien Gerby is that, yes, that's fine to dictate the pace, but once he chooses to hit the loud pedal, you can't then get out of it and start to brake test those behind. Not suggesting he will, because he has become more and more experienced through the course of the year, and I'm sure was listening attentively during the driver's briefing at the start of the week. We don't want any overlapping, as we almost have further back between Chris Short and Mark Richards, but they are neat and tidy again.
Green flag.
So we are racing for the final event of the season of the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Julien Gerby did not waste any time at all between turn 14 and 15. He started to up the pace, and once you've crossed the start and finish line, you can start to overtake, but it's going to be certainly a question of a feel, really, into the first corner. How much grip is there, as the Murphy Prototypes car is able to pull off an overtake there? So they switch around. Peter de Kurten's gaining 1 spot on John Schaumann as well in the Hegerle by T2 racing car. There it is, number 67.
Yeah, did see Team Parker Racing making some progress there. The 64 car in the hands of Alex Martin, passing a 2-3 of the LMP3 cars in the early exchanges. Torsten Kratz, meanwhile, did indeed pass a car there, but I think he dropped a couple of cars on the start-finish straight. So it'll be a bit of give and take here as they sort out, more than anything, Johnny, visibility.
Yes.
Here.
Yeah, because there's so much spray that isn't evident, of course, on slower speed laps behind the safety car. Chris Short and Ben Stone certainly getting stuck in for Inter-Europol competition too. They have Adrian Schiller wedged between them. So 15, 87 and 13 are 8th, 9th and 10th. There's a glimpse of the number 86 HCR with Caffeine 6 Porsche. Tim Kresick for the opening stint there. He'll be handing over to Anders Fjordbach, but this car is 3rd in GT3. Early leader, and a dominant leader actually, is Alex Martin, who is romping away. He's already cleared 3 LMP3 cars.
He has indeed. It's going to be a drive-through penalty, by the way, for car 39. That'll be the Graf car of James Sweetnam for causing a collision in FP2. So that's a penalty held over to the race. But, keeping an eye on progress forwards and backwards, and one of those at the moment looks to be in trouble is John Schaumann. Yellow flag at turn 8. Is he off the road there? I think he might be, you know. Car 27, that's the 24/7 motorsport car. Another drive-through. That's not respecting the start procedure. Just looking to see what's happened to John Schaumann. I think he may be off the road.
I think he has to be, because he hasn't come through the second sector yet, which does include turn 8, and the second sector runs all the way through to turn 10, but John yet to reach the end of that. So yellow flags being shown. They have now cleared though, so that gives us a sense that maybe John Schaumann is moving again. We won't need to go into a full course yellow. We've had nearly 20 minutes of this race already, and a really good run from the number 10 Aston Martin of Arnold Robin on Gabriele Rindoni. And he gets through ahead of the Leipzig Motorsports at Lamborghini, as long as he can get it stopped, and does do. So that is up to 4th position now for Arnold Robin.
Confirmed, by the way, John Schaumann has got the car moving again, has not dropped the lap. So Julien Gerby it is, leads by just about a second from Jehan Sarkisian. Oscar Bitar 3rd. Torsten Kratz now up to 4th place with Alden Gudmundsson 5th. Kratz on the move.
Oscar Bitar under stern pressure from Torsten Kratz in the Murphy Prototypes car, so the second of the Team Virage machines having to, he's going to be overtaken here if he's not careful, and down the inside went Torsten Kratz into turns 10 and 11. Be interested to see how that one worked its way out. They haven't gone through the next split yet to confirm who is in front, but Torsten Kratz on an absolute tear. And there's the number 19 car of Leipzig Motorsport, Gabriele Rindoni, having just allowed Arnold Robin through on the main straight. Robin keen, of course, to get as close to Alex Martin as possible. Alex Martin and Hiroshi Hamaguchi separated only by 1.4 seconds, but that is an early spin for Christian Gysi in the Racing Spirit of Le Mans LMP3 car.
But again, gets the car moving, so multiple incidents, but at the moment, everybody's still more or less on the straight and narrow. Very tricky conditions.
Torsten Kratz did get ahead of Oscar Bitar, but not, I don't think, through turns 10 and 11. He may well have finished the job off. In fact, they're still battling into turn number 1, and that was Bitar back in front for 3rd position. So really having a good dice there. This is the lead battle. Julien Gerby in the Team Virage 16 ahead of Jehan Sarkisian. Let's sort this little lot out as well. 4 cars from LMP3 at real close quarters. 67 is Peter de Kurtens, and he has behind him Mark Richards in the number 26 car.
Yeah, they're all with Louis Saint-Jean. That's the battle for 11th.
Sorry, that's Terence Woodward in the sister 360 racing car. And here is the fight for GT3 honours. These are the leaders, and Alex Martin, having cleared 3 LMP3s, as I've mentioned, has now not been able to extend the gap any further because Hiroshi Hamaguchi charging so hard in these cars that may well be better suited for these conditions as opposed to the LMP3s.
27 car takes its drive-through penalty for not respecting start procedures. This pair, by the way, up into the top 20, 19th and 20th place. So they've got, what is that, 7, 8, 10 of the LMP3s already behind them. And that...
Oscar Bitter sideways from third position. Now, was that as a result of contact with Torsten Kratz? We know that they were very close to one another. And Oscar Bitter to the top of the hill where the car goes light will rejoin. And Torsten Kratz trying as he did a lap or so ago in the Murphy Prototypes car. Was there contact? It's very difficult to see from that angle because of the spray. They were certainly very close to one another.
I think there was.
I think there was as well, because there's that also some loose bodywork on the rear right corner, and he was almost going off with more speed, indicating to me that there's just been a little bit of a shove from Torsten Kratz. Torsten clearly the quicker driver, but he needed to make sure that there was a gap there for the overtake.
So dramas galore, but Julien Gerby working very hard to stay out of those dramas. Top two cars are going away. Torsten Kratz 5 seconds behind this pair. Freed now from the battle with Oscar Bitter, but at what cost we will soon find out. Bitter now is down into, what is that, 8th position, but recovered to the track, will be back up to speed, pumped up no doubt.
And you can understand why, but he'll have to try and just calm himself down a little bit. Yes, he's been, I would say, the victim in that situation, but no good now letting the red mist descend, because he's clearly got a quick car. Oh no, more problems, and this is where there was a big gaggle of cars. Peter de Curtens in the 67, the 97 of Louis Saint-Jouin leaves the scene at turn 3 with some damage too.
The right-hand side, the Galaxy panel, the cheese is dragging on the floor there. There was a hit from de Curtens to the rear of the 97 car. That's where the damage has come, then a second hit as they tried to take, there's the first, and Grazzi, there's the second.
What about the number 2 car? Second in the championship, nearly getting hooked up into all of that, but Fabien Michel deliberately went really wide to the left and drove around it all. He still remains 12th. You don't actually score any points there, and it's going to be a very unlikely set of results if he can snatch the title in this closing race. But the key thing at the moment is just sheer survival. As de Curtens goes skating off at turn 7, Graham.
Yeah, tricky conditions here. We are, what is that, 22 minutes into this race.
They are going to have a look at the incident between Oscar Bitter and Torsten Kratz. Not a huge surprise, to be honest, as Bitter lost places. He was running 3rd at the time. He's now down in 8th place after that spin at turn 10. Here are the leaders. Julien Gerby being pursued by Shahan Sarkisian, looking for a good result in the number 11 CD Sport car, but not threatening for the championship. So Julien Gerby, if it gets a bit too heated, could almost afford to allow Shahan Sarkisian through, but that's just not in his makeup, really, Julien Gerby. And Julien Henrion wouldn't be happy with that either. So at the moment, they're trading fastest lap times. That time through, it was Sarkisian marginally faster.
Yeah, but marginally faster both is Torsten Kratz, and is looking to close that gap. We go back in the field to battle for 6th in GT3, headed at the moment by GMB Motorsports' Thomas Anderson, Hiroshi Kazumi, Greg Gorski, Nick Jones into this as well, and that is Nick Jones going around the outside, but way too far around the outside of the Lamborghini, doesn't get it done.
But does, thankfully, tuck back into line without losing the car. It's very easy to do that on the greasy curbing and also the white line as well. So there's Nick Jones down the hill. He has in front of him the black Lamborghini of Greg Gorski, and then Hiroshi Koizumi in the 51 Ferrari. It's an early pit stop for Louis Saint-Jouin. This is surely related to the damage that he picked up at turn 3, and we're also now getting word of the full course yellow that is going to start in the next 15 seconds because of some debris at turn 3.
That's debris from the number 97 car hit by the
10, 9,
T2
8,
by Hegeli car.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full course yellow is deployed. I have marshals on track at turn 3, picking up debris.
So down to full course yellow speed they come.
Turn 3, please bear right. Turn 3, please bear right.
So clear instructions from race control. Tricky conditions for the drivers, tricky conditions for the marshals as well. They'll need the protection of this full course yellow to go. So, piece of carbon fibre debris. Hearing from Steph down in pit lane, that's as we observed on the pictures, Johnny, the rear right, the Galaxy panel is loose but stable.
We will remove full course yellow. In 30 seconds, we will remove full course yellow.
We've seen this weekend some very inventive ways of solving problems with loose bullets, including strapping separate light panels on with cable ties. Never seen that before. Here's the double impact between Peter de Curtens and Louis Saint-Juan, and that's where the damage was done to the rear right bullet, as we call it, or the cheese wedge. It also did a big chunk of damage to the tyre with a huge sharp bite out of that rear right.
3, 2, 1. Full course yellow has been removed.
So we're racing again, and that allowed, of course, the spray to just dissipate, but it'll be back with a vengeance very shortly. Exactly 25 minutes have elapsed. That means in the next 20 minutes, should you wish, you can come in and do your pit stop, because the initial drive time will be completed. We have had some interesting moments earlier on in the season where actually the drive time of the bronze has been split because of, let's say, an early safety car or a full course yellow, because unlike in the European Le Mans series, you're not locked out of the pit lane.
There is Steph Wentworth, looking as glamorous as ever she has. It's a sight for sore eyes, isn't it, on a rainy day? At least she's got a hood.
I mean, that's good forward-thinking planning there. I was thinking she'd have to stand all day in the very heavy fireproof suit, but has managed to source a coat with a hood as well. And yeah, just keeping an eye on the skies to see whether there's likely to be an improvement, as the Aston Martin of Arnold Robin running deliberately deep into turn 5 to pick out the drier parts of the circuit. Robin currently 4th in GT3. He's hunting down the half pink, half purple HCR with caffeine 6 Porsche. Certainly an elaborate livery on that car when it was unveiled at the start of the year. Very easy to pick out, and Tim Kresick charging on in 3rd position.
While they're pushing on, though, way ahead of them is the battle for the lead in GT3. That is now for 16th place. 10 seconds, by the way, added to the next pit stop for car 17. That is the EDEX Sport car, isn't it, for overtaking before the line at the end of the safety car. So, bad to worse for Patrice Lafargue, already stone last, I'm afraid, and that won't help matters. This is the continuing battle for the lead, though. Julien Gerby still holding off Sarkisian. Virage from CD Sports. So not in a position of any comfort whatsoever, the race championship leader.
And being forced possibly into a battle that he doesn't need to get involved with, charging into turn number 5. I was a little fearful there that he might not be able to get the car stopped. Impressive run this from Shahan Sarkisian, as now we've got side by side, are they the teammates in fact?
And it's
so
just
MV2S racing cars getting together, and the rear wing on the 28 almost torn away. Where does everybody else go? Well, actually sticking to the track would have been more sensible there. I reckon that was the DKR car, was it? Trying to get around the outside of Alexander Bukantsov. So, MV2S Racing, the 28 and the 29s, don't hit your teammate is rule 1 of motor racing, and that is precisely what's happened at turn 3.
29 hits the inside of the 28, and then to add insult to injury, to go around the back of it, then rips the rear wing off. Oh dear, oh dear.
So it's Philippe Chimodomo going for a move on the 28 car of Christophe Cresp, if I read that correctly. And Christophe Cresp losing a number of places. He now has the very skew-whiff rear wing, and surely he's going to have to pit to get that sorted out. These cars are very dependent on the downforce, particularly that rear wing produces. Leaders still inseparable. The gap is 0.385 of a second. It's changed by 0.002 on that lap.
Indeed, but for catching them and catching them quickly is Torsten Kratz. He puts in the fastest time of the race. At least he did just briefly on that lap, because that was bettered by the man that's chasing him, albeit from further back. Kratz now 2.3 seconds behind this lead battle. Mark Richards with a 1:58.356 in the 360 Racing number 25 car, 4th, 8.2 seconds back, but he too is catching the leaders.
This is on the verge of becoming too risky for me, for Julien Gerby. They very nearly touched there at turn 4, and the last thing Gerby wants is to be turned around. Yes, OK, the CD Sport car, if it does get a little too close, would be penalised, obviously. I'm not suggesting Shahan Sarkisian is going to start, you know, going all out for a race victory, but if there is a penalty, that doesn't really help the car that leads the race and wants to be sort of away from that trouble as much as possible. Anything in the top 8 is absolutely fine for the championship, so we can even afford to allow Torsten Kratz through too. But let's just see how this unfolds. Gerby needs a bit more speed though, because Shahan Sarkisian is truly revved up here to at least lead one lap of this race, if not the rest of the stint.
And Kratz is now with them, 1.3 seconds back. This is the battle for third. Can't say enough, by the way, about how well the two leaders in GT3, now almost side by side here, the Caffeine 6xHCR and Racing Spirit Le Mans car are. This is the damaged MV2S car. The 64 and the 63 driving superbly, and they're up to 14th and 15th position.
Yeah.
Bit of a message maybe here from them.
Well, again, it's the same scenario as we had in qualifying, in that GT3 cars have more mechanical grip. You can push them harder in the wet weather and get results. So, OK, we didn't have a GT3 front row. We might have GT3s infiltrating the top 6 in the not-too-distant future, because they are really able to find the drier parts of the circuit and make the aero work slightly better for them. Still nose to tail for the race lead, though. And
traffic coming. 10 seconds added to the T2 by Hegeli pit stop for that collision with car 97.
And again, Gerby to the racing line, but Shahan Sarkisian finding a bit more grip on the inside of turn 4 there. Actually, when they get up to full speed, there's Torsten Kratz, the point that Graham's been making. Kratz is definitely closing in the Murphy Prototypes car, and surely is about to get in amongst this leading duo to make it a three-way fight. Here are the GT3 leaders that we've been talking so much about. The 64 Alex Martin Team Parker Racing Porsche is 14th overall and has brought Hiroshi Hamaguchi with him in the bright green Iron Lynx Lambo.
That means he's overtaken 15 LMP3 cars in this race, albeit one of them on the safety car in the gravel, but this is quite some race from them. They did feel a little aggrieved they were not allowed to take up the pole position they'd earned with the time. Do understand the position from race control. I equally understand the position from race team and race driver. But at the moment, there are only 13 cars behind that position.
Yeah.
And for that matter, Johnny, what is it, 40 seconds?
Indeed, and I'm sure they've got enough speed to catch a few more LMP3s before the end of this stint. So the rain and the wet track, a real leveller, and providing a terrific battle out front as well. Here are the 3 in LMP3 that lead. It's the yellow and black of Team Virage of Julien Gerby, comfortably leading the championship by 22 points, and any position in the top 8 will seal the championship for Gerby and his teammate Julien Henrion. But Shahan Sarkisian, a true headache for the Spaniard. And you've got Torsten Kratz waiting in the wings as well, in the best placed of the Decanes from Irish squad Murphy Prototypes, and car 48 looking to find a way through here, perhaps as the other 2 cars are very much distracted by each other.
Yeah, the gaps first to second and third under a second apiece, now almost equidistant as they come up to the delayed number 97 car, and hopefully gets the message that this is the lead battle coming through.
Again, really deep into turn 5 goes Julien Gerby. That in an attempt to hunt out the drier part of the exit of turn 5. And it works for him again. No way through for Shahan Sarkisian. But the quickest of the 3 cars is definitely the Duquesne in the green and white of Murphy Prototypes. A squirm, though, for German driver Torsten Kratz as he heads up the hill out of turn 8 and through the murk and the gloom. Is this the GT3 fight again? Well, it's for third and fourth because the Aston Martin's got ahead of the Porsche now. So Arnold Robin a nose in front of Tim Kresick, but Kresick now not wanting to take that lying down. He finds the inside line through turns 1, 2 and 3, and the HCR with Caffeine 6 Porsche is back in front of the spirit of racing spirit of Le Mans, Aston Martin.
Cracking stuff. Number 10 car tucks in. Looking to the inside here though, Johnny, going back at the... He's going to do it. Can he get the car stopped? But it had much the better straight line speed there. Why did he find that?
Again, inside of turn 4, I think offering quite a bit. We have finally had the change for second position as Torsten Kratz, though, has wormed his way by Shahan Sarkisian. Not sure where that happened, but a new second place car. Here we go. It was at the top of the hill at Portimão through turn 10, and Sarkisian just a touch wide. Oh, and then Torsten made sure he couldn't cut in. I hope there wasn't any contact there between the Murphy Prototypes car. They're both off the road, incidentally, but Murphy through and ahead of CD Sport. Yeah,
more than forceful. We'll leave it for race control to decide whether it was fair. But now shaping up to have a look at Julien Gerby, and I wonder whether or not the instruction might be given to Julien. This is a place he should be giving away. This is still the battle for GT3. No let up in the pace there. Cracking stuff here from Alex Martin and Hiroshi Hamaguchi.
They are only 4.7 seconds away now from the next LMP3 car. Here we go, side by side between Arnold Robin and Tim Kresick. And Kresick caught on the outside line of turn 4, where maybe there was quite a bit of standing water, but the Aston Martin didn't seem to defy physics there.
For what had been such a closely knit battle, it seemed easy.
Race leader in the gravel. Race leader Julien Gerby is in the gravel trap at turn 7, and this was my big fear for the championship leaders. They only there was contact between he and Torsten Kratz, and that sent the Gerby car into the gravel trap, and the top 8 finish now all of a sudden is going to switch. And that's the reaction from those elsewhere in the championship that feel that they might be able to get there, because Fabian Michal, Kirill Smal on 51 points, Odin Gudmundsson and Colin Noble are also on 51 points. The gap coming into this, 22, remember. But the race leader, as this race takes a huge turn, is now wanting recovery. And how long is he going to be ending up there? Because this could easily be a lap lost or more, Greg.
Easily, very easily. What a shame. We'd said it again, and then we said it a third time. This is the incident. It's coming into traffic, but it is Torsten Kratz coming in hot. There's clear contact to the rear of the 16 car. That pitches the car around and backwards into a deep gravel trap. No way back there for the moment for Julien Gerby. Full course yellow is coming for that recovery, but it's going to take a little while, and it's a full course yellow and not a safety car.
Yeah, so everybody's going to be touring round at 80 kilometres per hour, 50 miles per hour, but the gravel trap a long way away from turn 7. I'm not sure how close one of the snatch vehicles is either in order to get the 16 car back on track. The new race leader is Shahan Sarkisian, and when Sarkisian was so close to Gerby only a few moments ago, I was suggesting they were getting a bit too close for my comfort, so why doesn't Gerby allow Sarkisian through as we do go full course yellow now? And I said, well, if there is contact, let's say, with the Lebanese driver, yes, he would get penalised, but that's not going to help out the 16 car. No. As it turns out, it's not Sarkisian the guilty party, it is Torsten Kratz. And you can imagine there's going to be a penalty for Murphy Prototypes now, but it's the 16 car's still in the gravel.
And they've now lost the lap.
There you go. So you have to finish in the top 8 for them to, well, be sure of the championship. We've now got to keep a close eye on the CD Sport car, but not the race leading car, the number 2 that is in 10th place for Fabian Michal, the opening stint, and Kirill Smal still to come.
There's the incident
There's
again.
The incident.
That seemed pretty clear to me. I didn't see the 16 moving any slower than he should have been. That looked to me to be Torsten Kratz coming in too hot.
Now, who's to say? And you can understand why supporters of other teams are jumping up in celebration. Nobody likes to see ill on other teams. However, that was really the only scenario where they were going to be really in with a shout at the championship.
Well, as things stand, and it looks to me like the 16 is going to be underway very shortly, they drop from first to currently 38th.
Yeah.
Disaster.
And the points go down to 10th place, folks.
There is the 16 car back underway. In comes, not 55 car on pit lane.
So, Auden Gudmundsson in the Team Tour car, arriving here in Portugal on 51 points and looking obviously to score very, very well. They'd still need to win the race to make sure that they can outscore, because the gap's 22. The problem is the difference between a win and second place is 7 points.
Yes.
So 18, from my money, is still not going to do it. And of course, actually, there's an additional point as well, as we mentioned, for Julian Gerby after it took pole position. So weirdly, still the number 16 car is in a strong position, just purely because they have this 22-point lead.
But the key thing here, Johnny, is we know so well that these races, with the Pro-Am nature of these races, are completely different matters once you get the pro cars into the offing. This is the number 29 car. Driver's still at the wheel, but that rear wing still askew. I don't think that car's going any further. Team Virage in utter despair here.
Well, it looks horrendous at the moment, but as I say, they still have to see their rivals, either the number 2 or the number 77, win the race to take the title. It's certainly not beyond the realms of possibility, because Auden Gudmundsson sitting there in 4th place for the Icelandic Team Tour, with Colin Noble still to come for the second phase of the race. The other thing is, we're about to end the full course yellow. I was about to say, we're theoretically only 4 minutes away from the drive time, and therefore the pit window opening too.
Full course yellow is removed.
55 car, by the way, rear left puncture here from Steph down on pit lane. Thanks for that. So they managed to do that under a full course yellow, which would have helped a little with news that was otherwise unwelcome. 13th place, by the way, now for the lead battle in GT, because of the woes for the 16 car.
We're racing again. There's a spin, an early spin for Chris Short after the restart.
Car 29, this is a 10 seconds added to next pit stop penalty for causing a collision. Car 29.
And that was car 29, Philippe Gimodomo, making contact with his teammate, Christophe Cresp, you may remember. Cresp had to pit as a result of that. Here's the scrap for GT3, and it's the Lambo almost with the race lead. A complete drag race up the hill, though, out of turn 5, and now through the kink at 6. The Porsche has the inside line for turn 7, though, and Alex Martin can just about fend Hiroshi Hamaguchi off. This is stellar stuff, though, in GT3. Unfortunately for both of these drivers, neither of them are actually involved in the championship, but that's probably meant that the shackles are off.
Thoroughly enjoyable stuff, great stuff from them, super clean as well. It's great to see. Hamaguchi dancing around in the mirrors of Alex Martin. Oh, drifted through there and tries to get the power in early. Great stuff.
Superb to watch, and they are 13th and 14th overall, remember, as well, because of, it seems the GT3 car is the better car to have between it and the LMP3. We saw that in qualifying yesterday, although it was a much drier track for the GT3 quali as well. And Alex Martin will really feel he's been in a race, even though the first, 15 minutes of it were behind the safety car, but then they did not take long at all to really up the ante. And Porsche versus Lamborghini is a terrific fight. Now, some movement within Team Virage in the pit lane. So the 16 car is still circulating for Julian Gerby, 26th in the LMP3s and all the way down in 38th overall.
Okay, is that for an issue? Is that because we're getting very close now to the pit stop window?
It'll be Julien Omrion to take over in the number 16 Team Virage car. We've also got Oster Bitar from that team, the 59. He'll be handing over to silver-rated Alessandro Bracalente. And there is Julien Omrion, keen to take over. Of course, he will have seen what's happened to Julien Gerby. There's a question about how the car feels now as well after it's skated off into the gravel. I'm sure it won't sound great because of the stones rattling all the way around inside the mechanics of the car, inside the suspension and potentially brake calipers. It's not a nice situation to be in that respect either. Now in the spitting rain, there's the 16 HRC Porsche, this time dicing with the Lamborghini of Rindone. So the Lippert car, number 19, still causing a problem. And another Lamborghini, this time for Iron Lynx, Hiroshi Hamaguchi, pressurising Alex Martin, trying to force that mistake.
The incident between car 59... That's not no further action on Torsten Kratz.
Torsten Kratz against Oscar Bitar at Portimão, and we were trying to work out whether there was contact or not. We thought there was, but that's going to be no further action at turn 10.
I suspect it might be a different story with the team car.
Obviously the incident between 16 and 48 is still being looked at. Here's the 51 Ferrari of Hiroshi Koizumi ahead of Greg Gorski's Lippert Motorsport car. Oscar Bitar doing some recovery as well. Remember, he dropped as far down as 8th place. He is now, though, back up to 5th. Tony Wells in 4th, just ahead of him. Shahan Sarkisian leading by as much as 10.5 seconds now, though, over Torsten Kratz, who was obviously delayed in that incident too, the incident that took out the race leader. Kratz ahead of Mark Richards, but only just by 3 and a bit seconds.
Into the pit stop window. Got multiple cars on pit lane from the middle order. ANS Motorsport MB2S's surviving car. Incident involving 16 and 48 under investigation.
So that's at least 9 cars now into pit road on this lap.
Includes the 4th and 5th place now cars in GT3, up into 3rd place. With those 2 cars on pit road comes the 19 Lippert Motorsport car, so it's Porsche from 2 Lamborghinis now, and then a raft of cars on pit lane. Busy time on pit lane at the moment.
And will it turn into a straight fight for GT3 on pit road at the end of this lap? Because Alex Martin and Hiroshi Hamaguchi have done their required 45 minutes.
Drive-through penalty for Torsten Kratz, and he's on pit lane now for what should be the routine stop. So his teammate will have to come in very quickly again unless Kratz decides to go through and round.
So Torsten Kratz this weekend sharing with Enzo Elias, the Brazilian driver. And yes, Elias will be given the instruction. I'm sure they'll be doing the pit stop first now because that announcement has only just come through from race control. And, oh no, actually, beg your pardon,
he has driven through.
Driver change? No, they can't have done the driver change. Enzo Elias is labelled against Murphy Prototypes, but they have not done a driver change in 28 seconds.
No,
so that was a drive-through.
He threw into the car as he passed, which I don't think so.
Well, yeah, maybe that's the only way that they can redeem themselves, is to try and do that stop now as quickly as possible and catch up the time that the drive-through will eventually take, or has now taken. So 28 seconds. There's also another car doing a drive-through there, which is James Swetnam.
That's correct, yes.
For the 39 Graf crew. And I would imagine Torsten Kratz will pit next time around to then hand over to Enzo Elias, his new teammate. He's been racing, Torsten at least, racing with Will Bratt earlier in the year for Murphy.
I wonder if they've changed a bit. I wonder if that was supposed to be his approach for a routine pit stop, and he's aborted that. They've changed the driver identification in anticipation of Torsten getting out the car.
Yeah, perhaps so. So got the radio message to say don't do the main stop now, but the driver ID had already been switched.
Alex Martin.
2 Porsches nose to tail. Now Tim Kresick, I would imagine, has done his stop, so that'll be Anders Fjord back.
It is.
But the Nick Jones car, Nick Jones maybe has done, he brought his car in as well. I was about to say that's maybe one Porsche on the way out as the other one comes in, but they've both pitted at the same time.
Hiroshi Hamaguchi stays out as Alex Jones pits, and Hamaguchi at the moment 5th overall. We have had, I think, briefly, previously, a GT3 in the lead of these races overall under the pit stops.
confirmation that it is Scott Malvern taking over from Nick Jones rather than Nick bringing the car in for its stop. That was the 18 Porsche on its way out again. Shahan Sarkisian not choosing to pit just yet as Scott Malvern goes around the outside of Anders Fjordbach to pick the 86 Porsche off. That will be for 7th position in GT3. It's also very close between the 83 Ferrari, as now the number 4 Nielsen car is off the road.
That is Matt Bell having just got into the car. So what has happened there for Matt Bell?
That's the inside of turn 4. So the 3 right-handers that kick off the lap. Then as he's tried to go left through turn 4, I reckon that looks like a mechanical problem, because the car looked like it had been pulled off rather than having spun to that scene. And Torsten Kratz is back in again, by the way, now for Enzo Elias to take over.
So it is still Shahan Sarkisian out and leading, with a mighty lead right now, 52 seconds, but that's because many of the cars behind him have already stopped. In finally comes Hiroshi Hamaguchi. Fine stint from him, as it was from Alex Martin. Deserve to be congratulated. It is Charles-Henri Samani, Greg Gorski are the two that we saw battling away just a few moments ago, and remains to be seen whether or not they will stop on this occasion.
Down the inside, the number 2 CD Sport car, looking to try and pick up more positions for championship points after the demise of Julien Gerby, although Gerby, his car, is still in the race, the number 16 machine. But the other car from CD Sport, Shahan Sarkisian, has now pitted from the race lead. Adrian Schiller remains to be seen whether he's going to drop into the pit lane as well in number 87 for Cool Racing. Matt Bell still stranded in the same position, so yellow flags covering that at the moment. But no need to go for anything more severe in terms of tempering the pace of the race, because he's not particularly in a vulnerable spot there.
No, he's not.
Inside of turn 4, very rare for a car to end up spinning in that direction. Scott Malvern again getting his elbows out, and now he's dicing with Patrick Kuyala, who's just taken over the number 19 Lamborghini from Gabriele Rindone. I reckon Scott Malvern will be able to pick the Lamborghini off on the inside line into the hairpin.
Yeah, 6th place in GT3, being contested hotly by this pair. 58 minutes to go in this race. Whilst it has had incident, it's got to be said, for the moment, most of the drivers have coped with these conditions extremely well, Johnny.
It's a problem here. Is this for Shahan Sarkisian? They can't get the rear right wheel onto the number 11 car. The number 2 is out on the track, so that has to be the 11 from CD Sport. Here's the 16 of Julien Gerby.
Oh, that's an off. Is that the ANS car?
Or possibly a United machine. United Autosports, possibly.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes, it is. It's the 23 car, which, without any contact with the GMB Honda alongside, was John Schaumann. Has John not pitted yet? No, he hasn't.
Yet. No, still waiting to see Wayne Boyd getting back up to speed slowly. So, and confirmed, by the way, apparently from Jeff Carter, that John has confirmed that it will be his last race.
But he'll probably pretend that Spa was his last race, so he can go out on a race win, because unfortunately this final race of the year is not going quite as well, with a couple of offs already, sadly, for the American.
No, you're getting me confused with Sean Jauman, that he'll be saying, I think, in that one.
Yes.
But, he'll be missed. Always cheery and chipper. John loves his racing. Charles-Henri Samani, by the way, is amongst the 3 cars that have not yet pitted and is now 2nd overall.
Oh, contact for the number 83 Ferrari, leaving his braking far too late there and into the back of Scott Andrews, who's nerfed into a spin. It's not been the best couple of laps for United Autosports cars, because that was the sister machine. Who's in the 83 Ferrari now?
2nd place overall. I was just saying, he's he's not pitted yet, so bit of a fumble.
So Charles-Henri Samani thinking there was a bit more grip there than was the case. And they, in fact, are not even on the same lap, because the 22 car has pitted. And as you say, the AF Corsa Ferrari was still waiting for the change to Emanuele Collard.
16 car waiting to go, but a meaningful race position, I think, is going to be beyond their reach now. It is all about what happens with the other championship contenders. And we'll wait till the pit stops sort themselves out and look at where the prevailing pace is.
Well, CD Sport in the number 11 car have got away with one there because they were having that problem with the rear right wheel, but they've done a pit stop of 2 minutes and 46 seconds, so it didn't cost them any time at all. And Frank Chapard is now into the race for the first time, having taken over the Shahan Sarkissian CD Sport car, and they are still in 4th position with about 10 seconds to try and find on John Schauerman. However, the 3 cars ahead of Frank Chapard still owe us a pit stop.
So just the top 3 overall, the 87 Cool Racing car, the 83 AF Corsa car, and John Schauerman. After that, with one more, Patrice Lafargue hasn't pitted yet, way further down. He's in 14th in that delayed edict sport car that on countback will be a lap down.
There was another big squirm from Charles-Henri Samani there through turn 15 because he was a bit too wide and off the racing line, but side by side with a fellow GT car. There goes the number 19 Lippert Motorsport Lamborghini, and also a big wiggle for the 360 racing car, fighting away with Josh Skelton. So it's Belin Garcia for 360 racing.
That's the de facto battle for second.
Yes.
Belin Garcia currently second place and fending off Josh Skelton.
Belin very sideways at the top of the hill as the cars go light, but she did control that slightly wayward moment. Difficult to do in the wet. Josh Skelton certainly applying the pressure here in the number 7 car. Josh coming back from that crash at Spa-Francorchamps, you may remember, coming out of Le Com corner. When he was, it was one of those unforced errors that he was really frustrated with.
Side by side now, though. Has he got this done? I think he might have done. Can Belin get the switch back here? I don't think so. Josh has got that move done and is up at the moment into 5th place, but with 3 cars ahead that still have to put in their stop. And you can still see, by the way, Matt Bell still at a stop there with the yellow flag still at turn 3 and 4.
So no overtaking, strictly speaking, into 3 at this stage, certainly not through 4 either. That rather makes the incident involving Charles-Henri Samani even more embarrassing, if you like, because he should have been taking it easy into the yellow flags, and that incident, unsurprisingly, is now under investigation, which nerfed Scott Andrews into a spin. May well be, of course, that Scott himself was trying to slow down more readily into turn 3 to obey those yellow flags. That might have forced the contact even more. So Charles-Henri Samani is going to have to be pitting in the next, well, to allow the drive time to take place, he's going to have to pit in the next probably 5 minutes. Because remember, it's a pit stop of 2 minutes and 45 seconds as well, and only at that point can Emmanuel Collard's drive time begin. But they've timed this pretty much bang on. The difficulty, of course, for Emmanuel Collard is that he'll likely have to serve a penalty in the early stages of his stint. How's the nose of this Ferrari?
Yeah, you can see the damage, very minor damage to the front right, just below the headlamp. Manu Collard, one of the most experienced men in Le Mans history. 23 consecutive starts at Le Mans, missed a year, then came back for his 24th.
Just to be here. Waiting.
Now that was Samani trying to get to pit lane, but an LMP3 car up the inside of him. That could have been disastrous, couldn't it?
Certainly could. And again, the importance shown there of needing to get into the pit lane with the required drive time for Manu Collard still in hand. So tyres going on now with the obvious need for more wet weather tyres. The rain's still hammering down in pit road.
This will cycle round to Vincent Abril now being in the lead of GT3, ahead of Charles Bateman in the Team Parker car that led the race from the start. And they are going to retain 13th and at the moment 15th position. It'll be, actually I think it'll be 12th and 14th position when these pit stops are done. Still waiting for Adrian Chilo and John Schauerman to show down pit lane.
Meanwhile, Frank Chapard looking for a way by Scott Andrews.
No, that's John Schaumann.
Oh, is it Schaumann?
For position.
Yes, and of course without Schaumann's pit stop.
Correct.
So it just shows what 2 spins will do for John Schaumann in terms of him being quite a way down from everybody else, even with the benefit of not having pitted yet. How wet and unpredictable through turn 15 though for Frank Chapard. The car was moving like crazy beneath him. Brilliant car control, and so much of course to lose as the net race leader.
And in comes John Schaumann to complete his stint and his career in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Thanks, John. You've been an absolute blast. Always cheerful, never more so, of course, than after that win at Spa. And with a final apology for the fact that we were reading the official timing and scoring, which did indicate a problem with drive time, which was not true. Well earned by himself and Wayne Boyd, and we're going to miss you.
Hear, hear. And it's been 5 seasons in the Le Mans Cup with various different teams, but bowing out with United Autosports. In fact, 6 seasons, started in 2018.
Wow.
With Brookspeed International, and has then gone with Cool Racing, but the last 4 years with the Anglo-American squad from Yorkshire, United Autosports.
Adrian Schiller pits from the lead. That will cycle back around to CD Sport, taking the lead of this race, and then we can start talking about just where the gaps are that need to be completed or filled for there to be a title challenge against the delayed, the rather nerfed 16 car, which by the way still sits down in 34th place with Guillaume Henrion.
There is Kirill Smal at the moment up to 4th position, so they are better placed than Team Tour at this stage. Remember that CD Sport and the number 2 car have to take the race win here to score more points than the number 16 Team Virage machine. And 2 versus 25 is a real-time fight for Kirill Smal up against Belin Garcia, but the Smal-driven car has just got ahead of the Spaniard.
There's a double advantage here for Kirill Smal, isn't there? Because not only is he better placed than Team Tour, but surely if that car gets to 2nd, the team car would let it go.
Yeah, I really cannot see a scenario where the number 11 car would stay out front. But Frank Chapard, he's a fair way in the distance. We'll get a real-time gap in a moment because Adrian Schiller is the last car that needs to pit, and he has just entered pit road now in the number 87 Cool Racing car. Very wide indeed for the 55 GMB Motorsport Honda, and that happened at turn 1.
Simon Burt, what happened here? Oh, I think it just came in a little bit too hot, tried to avoid the contact with what I think was the Ferrari ahead, skirted through the soaking wet gravel and managed to rejoin the circuit with no further drama. That
was Kay Cozzolino, who was very nearly rudely assaulted in the 51 Ferrari. Kay is running in 7th place in GT3. The GT3 race leader now, Vincent Abril, in the 63 Lambo of Iron Lynx, and he is 11th overall as Cedric Ultramar now takes over from Adrian Schiller. So Ultramar feeding back into the mixture in 9th place for Cool Racing.
So here's where the championship stakes currently sit in the mix. Kirill Smal in the number 2 CD Sport car sits 3rd and is 3.5 seconds off the lead. 3.5 seconds off Josh Gelton, sorry, who is 34 seconds back. We are going to go to another full course yellow, and that I presume is for recovery of the number 4. While we continue to talk about that, back down in 6th position and 45 seconds off the lead is Colin Noble. The 3rd car and the leading car in the championship is welded down in 33rd position. Guillaume Henrion. Desperate stakes for them after contact from the rear put the car into the gravel before the pit stops. They are the 3 contenders.
Yeah. There's Kirill Smal. Belin Garcia getting rather close under brakes for turn 10 and 11, and again she loses the tail just briefly on the exit of that corner. Now there's a stray bullet on the 22. So, and the full course yellow will kick in because of stranded Matt Bell in car number 4. I think the thought process there was make sure all the pit stops are done. As you can see, the trailing bullet there on the 22, get all the pit stops out of the way, get the new drivers in, and then just before they settle into their stints, full course yellow to clear the number 4 car that's been there for a long time. It's been quite an event to finish the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Let's take a look at what's happened so far. So we got underway bang on 9 o'clock this morning, but under the safety car because of the amount of standing water here and there. The rain was still pouring down as well, and this a chance for everybody to get a feel for how much grip was out there on the racetrack. Eventually we did get going. It was after I think it was 4 laps behind the safety car in the end, and then eventually the Mercedes extinguished its lights on the roof. There they are, and we got rocking and rolling with Julien Gerby taking the race lead from pole position, but a terrific fight between he and Shahan Sarkisian in the early stages for CD Sport in the number 11 car. You can see how much spray, though, was being thrown up behind the cars. This was one of the key moments in the early stages, which was a spin for Oscar Bitar. No further action after this incident. We were trying to work out whether there'd been any contact between he and the Murphy Prototypes car of Torsten Kratz, but it turns out maybe there was not, because that was NFA'd. However, Torsten Kratz would be involved in something far more serious later on. Really good dice at the head of the order in GT3 between Alex Martin in the Team Parker Porsche and Hiroshi Hamaguchi in his Iron Lynx Lamborghini, as Shahan Sarkisian powered his way out of turn 5 at the hairpin. The GT3s were working their way very close to the top 15 overall because of the far superior mechanical grip from these GT3 cars compared to the LMP3s. They're not reliant as much on the aerodynamics. So Torsten Kratz closing in for the race leaders. This was the top 3 so closely bunched, and Kratz a forceful manoeuvre to get ahead of Shahan Sarkisian into turn 10 and 11, but not as forceful as this one. Misjudging his braking point, the German, and hitting the rear of the then race leader, Julien Gerby. He went skating off into the gravel and was stranded there, going a lap down as a result. The 16 car needing to finish in the top 8 if one of its major rivals, either the number 2 CD Sport or the 77 Team Tour car, win the race. So it's Frank Chapard who leads for CD Sport at this stage. And we're now under a full course yellow to ensure that the safe recovery of the number 4 car of, first of all, John Melsom, now Matt Bell, can be recovered from the inside of turn 4. Actually, that number 4 car's been sitting there for a long, long time.
It has. There is Matt on the back of a moped on his way back to the pits to explain what was going on there. This is our overall order. CD Sport lead the race. The gaps here don't matter that much because that's under full course yellow. Nielsen, number 7. In second place. CD Sport number 2, though, is a championship contender. 360 Racing's cars, nose to tail, Bella Garcia and Tommy Foster in 4th and 5th. Then the other championship contender in with a shot here, Colin Noble in the Team Tour car he shares with Auden Gudmundsson. In GT3, stellar stuff from both Iron Lynx. Vincent Abril now at the wheel of the car started by Hiroshi Hamaguchi. He's 11th overall now, 2 places further back. The car that led in the early part of the race, Team Parker Racing, Charles Bateman after Alex Martin led the race in the 64 Porsche. 3rd, 4th, 5th in the Racing Sprint Le Mans Aston Martin, Team Parker Racing's 992 spec car in the hands of Scott Mulvin now, working its way up the order, and Lipet Motorsports Lamborghini, the number 19, in the hands of Patrick Kajala. Cracking stuff.
In most part, I would say. Unfortunately, we've had 1 or 2 incidents that we didn't want to see, but otherwise some terrific racing in very trying conditions, and it just shows how skilled these bronze drivers are becoming now to, in the main part, keep their cars on the straight and narrow. Never did find out how Matt Bell ended up there, but it doesn't appear that the car is damaged. The bullet on the rear right is certainly still intact. So a full course yellow period to allow for the safe recovery of Matt's stricken Nielsen Racing Duquesne. Unfortunately for John Melsom, well, they'd been given a penalty on the grid anyway, and were up against it, I suppose, to repeat what was a cracking result for them at Motorland Aragon earlier in the season.
Yeah.
Rain lights, very much the order of the weekend. And look at the amount of water pouring off the side of the number 2 car of Kirill Smal. Bear in mind, of course, that full course yellows don't allow you to close gaps on rivals. That's really, the 2 would be desperate for a safety car for this recovery to take place on the 4, but it's not really required. Everyone instead being told to circulate at 80 kilometres per hour. Theoretically, when we get going again, the gap to Josh Skelton should be exactly as it was, which was 3.5 seconds from memory. So quite a bit of time still to gather up. That's where we stand in terms of real-time projected points as well. So Virage on 73 as they started. CD Sport, the number 2 crew, up to 66.
But that can change so quickly. That is the projected points if we finished as things are. But what we've got at the moment are Kirill Smal. He will be able to sniff a strong possibility here of a title, and don't expect Colin Noble to settle for 6th place. That is going to be something to watch, because the gap between Smal and Noble is just a couple of seconds when we're back to green flag racing. It'll be very shortly. It's been quite a task to get that number 4 car from an unfortunate position, actually. Not easy to recover it, and it needed a lift. May well be stuck in gear, in which case, if they're not able to push that car, all 4 wheels on the wagons, that was not the issue. GT3, by the way, looking good at the moment for the Racing Spirit Le Mans car, the Aston Martin squad, as we've got a bit of a spin there for the 97. Thanks for spinning our way so we can see the number plate. Their championship rivals all behind them on track at the moment. That Aston Martin running 3rd in the hands of Valentino Hasenclo. And he has got, just looking, 1, 2, 3 cars, 2 cars between him and the nearest championship rival, which is the number 86 car, rather, of HCR with Caffeine 6, Anders Fjordback at the wheel there. Just needs to keep this on the road and up to pace, and they've got 39 minutes on their way to a title.
Just caught a glimpse of Terence Woodward watching his teammate Tommy Foster circulating in 5th position. We're going to go back to green now then, at 11 minutes past 10 in the morning, 1 hour and 11 minutes on the race clock, and just over 38 minutes still to go therefore. And as they go through the splits for the first time, the gap now between Josh Skelton and Kirill Smal as we get back up to full speed is 4 seconds. However, Smal and Belén Garcia much closer, as she actually attempts an overtake down at turn 1. So there's the 25 car, the first of 2 360 racing machines at close quarters. More yellow flags, this time at turn 1.
Oh, big twitch there, wasn't there, from the City Sport car? That's not what he wants. And this rain is getting worse, significantly worse right now. This is what we expected around this time. First the rain and then the wind. That's the 11, that's the leading car. What's off there? Is that the 17?
ANS possibly. And in an unrelated incident, that's the CD Sport car that is the race leader. Well, that's another way to get Frank Chapard and Kirill Smal closer to one another, I suppose. I just wonder whether that was the ANS car that was stranded at turn 1. It's still causing this yellow flag. It's the 17 car. So is that the EDEX Sport? Yeah, so it's Dino Lunardi who has got stuck at turn 1 in the gravel trap.
Yeah.
EDEX Sport potentially going to cause another full course yellow here for its recovery.
If they can get a car, get a recovery truck, that could be a very easy recovery.
True. If
they want to recover it, they want to take it back to the track. It's a rather longer journey. Just keeping an eye on where things are for the Team Virage car number 16. Car 32nd, making progress, but nowhere near enough.
At least one of the rear cheese wedges ripped off from the 17 EDEX Sport car in the process of that off as well. It will have been a high-speed one into, thankfully, doing the gravel trap doing its job, but you're going at a fair lick when you're looking to turn the car in at turn 1, as Frank Chapard demonstrates. And this was Frank Chapard a few moments ago, thankfully skating right over the top of the gravel. It's an unbelievable escape, that, considering, well, possibly damp stones, more compressed, and actually serve to be slightly better to get out of, as long as you can keep that momentum up, which is exactly what Frank Chapard did expertly well. But the lead margin has slipped now back to 24.8 seconds to Josh Skelton. 3.5 back to Kirill Smal.
Switch around though. Belen Garcia loses a place to Tommy Foster. So Tommy Foster it will be that now gets to attack Kirill Smal, also closing pretty rapidly has been Colin Noble. The gap between Josh Skelton and Colin Noble is 9 seconds. That is Colin Noble. Oh dear. Now,
did he get it out of the gravel is the next question. I can see that the 77, no, it's still in Sector 1 somewhere, so it hasn't reached the end of Sector 1 quite yet. Does that suggest that the yellow flags at Turn 1 are also covering the 77? Oh, it's gone through
trouble
now.
for the 64, second place. I'm beginning to get to the stage, Johnny, where I'm wondering whether or not we might see intervention here.
Well, we certainly need a full course yellow, I would imagine, because there's now a car in the gravel trap at Turn 1 and at Turn 15.
It's Turn 1. We've had 4 or 5 cars now off aquaplaning at Turn 1.
Yeah, but Turn 15's not too pretty either. Here comes the number 7 car of Josh Skelton to put a lap on the number 3 DKR car, and that is of Jamie Winslow. Unfortunately for him, all the way down in 38th position. Yes, 2 cars stopped in the gravel trap at 1 and the gravel trap at 15. Those yellow flags are still being shown at the final corner.
Not convinced we don't see a safety car here. That's another spin for the 22 car. That's the just repaired car, isn't it?
Yes. So Scott Andrews, who received damage, of course, from the hit from Charles-Henri Samani in his Ferrari earlier on. So you could just caught a glimpse of the Parker Racing Porsche still stranded in the gravel trap there.
That's the car that did so well in the first part of this race.
Well, led for a long period of time and was battling with Hiroshi Hamaguchi, you may remember, in the Iron Lynx Lamborghini.
The fact that we've got so many professional drivers skating off, it has to be aquaplaning at this point. Leads me to wonder whether or not we might see an intervention of a safety car here.
Jamie Winslow into pit lane. We're about to get a message, I think, from race control. But how close do you want it? This is Josh Skelton up against Kirill Smal.
Safety car deployed.
And the safety car is going to be deployed.
Leader, please give me a gap to the car in front. Safety car deployed.
So Kirill Smal, almost thinking about an overtake there on Josh Skelton, but he's now got the message that we're about to go safety car.
Right.
But it's massively going to bunch up Frank Chapard to Josh Skelton and, of course, Kirill Smal in 3rd position. If we'd gone another lap without the safety car, I think Smal might have been able to get... I think Smal might have been able to get ahead of Josh Skelton, and then it would just have been a case of the CD Sport cars switching around to give the title to car 2.
But could this be the saviour for Colin Noble? He did continue, by the way, through, completed that lap. He is still there in 5th place, but with a more substantial gap that will now be completely compressed. What we're going to get, if we get back to green flag racing here, is something like, well, let's say half an hour of racing for the title between Kirill Smal, Colin Noble. Out of it at this stage in terms of being able to affect the results is the number 16 car. 2nd place now, of course, with that issue for this the 64 is the Racing Spirit Le Mans cars. It just gets better for them in the GT3 title stakes. Vincent Abril, untroubled. Meanwhile, 11th place overall. Quite the drive from both drivers.
Safety car on track.
I have to say, thoroughly agree with the safety car call.
Yeah.
You can see just by that camera just how much more rain than we've got than we had even 10 minutes ago. And my concern here, Johnny, was they're coming down that dip. If there's standing water, and I think there is, they were just aquaplaning straight off. And it wasn't 1, 2 cars, it was 5 and 6 cars. And again, to make the point, with the full professional drivers in the cars on full wet tyres.
Yeah, and you cannot then increase.
Car 9, your driver is allowed to overtake safety car. Car 9, the driver is allowed to overtake safety car.
There's no further step to take to make it more or less likely to fall off the track. You know, all precautions have been taken, and the expert drivers. This was the spin then for the 64 car of Charlie Bateman.
No grip.
And a full rotation of Bateman, sadly for him, into the gravel trap. That's the fastest corner on the circuit, turn 15. You're picking up the speed through 14, and we'd already talked about the rivers pouring their way through that final corner. And then, because of the nature of the approach to turn 1, with the track dropping down, obviously all the water is pouring down that slope from the start-finish straight into turn 1 and causing yet further problem. And it's a high-speed approach to turn 1 as well. So at the moment you realise the car's out of your control, it's too late. And you're going to go skating either towards the gravel or perhaps towards the Armco barrier on the outer edge. Watching Dino Lunardi being recovered then from deep in the gravel trap at turn 1, and significant damage done to the rear of that E-Deck sport car. The question remains whether conditions are going to improve enough to allow racing to commence again. It could be that we stay in exactly the same order all the way to the flag, of course, and that would see the title in LMP3 go to Team Virage.
Yeah. The damage to that rear of that car, I'm somewhat surprised they've recovered that to the track.
I see what you're saying. It's the marshal's prerogative or instruction.
It's third incident in this.
Yeah, true.
I get that.
They won't take that into account necessarily, but it's their instruction to put the car into a safe location and give it a chance to rejoin. But the last thing that race control will want is a car full of gravel and with broken rear end, potentially dropping more debris onto a track that is treacherous enough already.
Okay, thanks to all team for the report on track conditions. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think the track conditions at the moment are all kinds of terrible. So we'll wait and see how this all settles down. Still raining heavily. There is standing water around the track here.
The 3 car is going to be retired of DKR, unfortunately. We watched Jamie Winslow coming down pit road, and the number 3 car that was started by Alexander Bukantsov, not in contention for points in this race, so they've decided to call it a day there.
Yep.
You can sort of understand that.
Possibility, if we're going to get back to green flag racing, of a wave by here, pass by for GT3. Just watching the 42 Stella Racing car there. In the hands now of Stephen Fielding. So Sylvain Guintoli has completed his first stint in a GT3 car.
In GT3, the number 10 of Arnold Robin and Valentin Hasclaux, the Aston Martin, with this 12-point advantage over Hiroshi Koizumi and Kei Cozzolino. At the moment, they're scoring 18 points for finishing in second place. And for the 51 Ferrari, it's only going to be a 6th place finish. The other drivers in contention for the championship, Anders Fjordbach and Tim Kressick, but the HCR with Caffeine 6 car is only 5th. So if we stay as we are, it's going to be a comfortable championship win for Racing Spirit of Le Mans.
Also confirmed there, with the sight of Dino Lunardi being recovered back to the pits on the back of a moped, is that that's all she wrote for the 17 car. Anders Fjordbach is on pit lane.
And here he is.
Now that's not 3 laps yet on beyond the safety car, is it?
That rule doesn't count in Le Mans Cup.
It doesn't.
Yeah,
You're quite right.
The pit lane remains open throughout.
There's one new tyre, new front tyres. No, it's going to be a full set of Michelins for this car. I guess this is a throw of the dice if there's an opportunity to attack.
Indeed.
To get the best tyres you can.
Yeah.
We're not going to win it from here. What can we do that'll maximise our chances? We're not going to lose much track position behind the safety car. So let's see what we can do. It is a last desperate throw of the dice, but it's not the worst one.
Well, they're in 6th place. You get 8 points for that. They need a lot more than that in order to outscore Arnold Robin and Valentin Hasclaux. But I suppose the thought is that there might be a clash if we're racing again. There might be a slight mistake from the Aston Martin, which throws it off the road for a bit. And if you're on new wet weather tyres, they're going to be an awful lot better than those that have done half a stint to this point.
Yep.
If Arnaud Robin and Valentin Hasclot for Racing Spirit of Le Mans win the championship, that no longer gives them an automatic invitation to Le Mans next year.
No, it doesn't.
However, thanks to Jeff Carter, it does give them priority to the 2024 ELMS.
I know full well that Racing Spirit Le Mans are looking to put a GT3 car into what is going to be a hotly contested entry next year. Hotly contested, I'm sure, when we get to track, but hotly contested to get the invitation. It'll be around 42 cars for the European Le Mans Series next year, expecting north of 20 LMP2 cars, and just into double figures for the other two classes, LMP3 and LMGT3, the new class for next year. Got a chance to see some of the teams' picks for next year in the first-time rookie test tomorrow here. That would include, if things haven't changed in the last 24 hours, Michael Fassbender stepping over from GT3 to have a look and see whether or not he fancies a go at LMP2, would you believe?
Also from press officer Jeff Carter, this statistic, if Racing Spirit of Le Mans win GT3, they'll be the first team to win back-to-back titles in different classes, because they were victorious in LMP3 in this championship in 2022 and could be about to back that up with a title in the GT3 category. What had you just spotted? Someone a little wayward at turn one?
No, it was a young lady at the top of the grandstand having a bit of a tumble. So hopefully someone's there that can help.
Well, metal stepways,
no, it's just on the
for sure can be nightmarish in these conditions.
I think just everywhere's slippy, so hopefully no major dramas there. Are you okay, young lady? But,
come to Portugal, they said. It's going to be glorious sunshine for the finale of the European Le Mans Series and the Michelin Le Mans Cup. The weather gods haven't quite read the script, unfortunately.
If only Spain had thought to fill up a bucket with the sunshine we had at Aragon and hand it over at the border.
That's true. 42 degrees, was it, at Motorland Aragon?
They could have had a few of those, couldn't they?
Indeed,
38 would have been fine.
Share the love from the heat. Take a few degrees away from that and add them to this weekend. That is not pretty at all. We talked about standing water. Well, it's just constantly being added to at this stage. I'd imagine it's a job actually to stay close to the safety car, which will be on road tyres. Most of, or all of these cars now, of course, on big, thick, treaded Michelins, but nevertheless, the cars, the LMP3s at this slower speed, lose their traction just because there's no airflow over the top. And the car's very, very light in comparison to the GT3, so it's really easy to lose control of your LMP3, even at these very slow speeds.
Yeah, about to see, with the recovery almost complete of the EDEC Sport car, whether or not Race Control think these conditions are raceable. I'm not convinced they are, is the straight answer. Still heavy rain and track conditions are not improving.
The instruction, if it does start to improve, will be given to the safety car driver to pick up the pace, and that will start to clear a bit more of the standing water. But until cars can go closer to 80 kph, that's just not going to happen, because the rain is collecting more quickly than it is being able to be cleared, even though we've still got 36 cars circulating.
Have been completed, but the conditions are getting worse and worse. Therefore, we have made the decision to stop the race. When the red flag signal will be given, the safety car will drive into the pit lane and all cars will follow the safety car until Parc Fermé.
So, one more safety car lap. The cars are going to be, though, brought into pit road, and a red flag will be shown, is what we're being told. Car number 11 is now under investigation for full course yellow speeds, which is interesting because, of course, if they're given a penalty and everyone's concertinaed up at the moment, then that's really going to take them out of the equation. The race leader potentially going to be given a penalty. That still doesn't help CD Sport enough, though. They're running in second place. They have Josh Skelton in the Nielsen Racing number 7 ahead. And it might be that the 7 car wins this race, depending on whether we do any more race action, the other side of the red flag. But otherwise, it'll be called as a result with these gaps behind the safety car.
That is the only remaining question. We wait for confirmation from race control as to whether or not there's any chance of a restart here.
Red flag, red flag.
I think we're done.
Red flag. All cars to follow
End of race confirmed.
Into the pit lane.
And we can call it as we now see it, Johnny Palmer, and it will be the number 16 Team Virage car that takes the championship.
All cars to follow the safety car.
And it will be Racing Spirit Le Mans that take GT3.
Directly to Parc Fermé in the paddock.
And Racing Spirit of Le Mans, their celebrations have already begun. But for those academics amongst you, I'm sure you'd like to know who's won the race. We don't know, because the number 11 car is potentially going to get a penalty here for its full course yellow speed. So that may well promote the light blue Nielsen Racing car to a win to end its season for Josh Skelton and teammate in the number 7 Tony Wells. They had the end of Spa just an absolute nightmare for them after Josh Skelton clattered the barrier at the top of the hill at Spa-Francorchamps. But the point being that even though that should elevate the number 2 car to second place, still 18 points aren't enough to give the title to CD Sport and to Kirill Smal and Fabian Michel.
Yeah, some 0 to hero for Josh Skelton and Tony Wells after that. So at the moment, we'll call it as it stands. No penalty yet issued. It is a win at the moment for the number 11 CD Sport car in the hands of Frank Chapard here. Awful conditions for the Michelin Le Mans Cup to run into. A win here for the Iron Lakes Lamborghini.
The safety car into the pit lane. All cars
Vincent Abril and Hiroshi Hamaguchi. A fine result, an 11th place overall for that car. But the second place car in GT3, Racing Spirit Le Mans, and their number 10 Aston Martin. Valentina Herzog-Clos will bring that car home. But it is this car that will take the title, Johnny, in dramatic conditions. Guillaume Henrion will bring the car to pit lane. It was Julien Gerby, held the lead, held it strongly, but was rudely punted into the gravel trap, sending this car down. It will finish this race in 30th position, but with the inability of either the number 2 TD Sport car or the 77 Team Tour car to win. With this race red flagged with about 20 minutes to go, they've done enough to retain the points lead they've got and will take the title. Guillaume Henrion, back-to-back titles on this package.
Yes.
In the Ligier European Series last year and in the Michelin Le Mans Cup this year. Let's wait and see what happens for that young man coming into 2024.
And a glimpse of the GT3 championship winners as well. Valentin Herzog-Clos with the closing drive. Arnaud Robin kept the number 10 Aston Martin out of trouble in the opening 45 minutes or so. They finished second behind Vincent Abril and his teammate in the 63 Lamborghini, Hiroshi Hamaguchi, but 18 points more than enough. They came here with a 12-point advantage to their nearest rivals, Hiroshi Koizumi and Kei Cozzolino. So celebrations beginning between Hamaguchi and Abril as they've won the race, but it's nothing compared to the screaming and shouting that is about to begin at Racing Spirit of Le Mans. They were winners this time last year in the LMP3 division, and they've now managed to win the GT3 championship the following year. And for the time being, Frank Chapard and his teammate Shahan Sarkisian, the race winners, because we're still waiting for a decision on car number 11. It was reported to the stewards for its speeds under the full course yellow, but that's obviously still going to be investigated. So until we hear further news, a race win for CD Sport.
Julien Gerby.
And there is Julien Gerby, how much it means to him. And he probably had a very similar face when he was sitting in the gravel trap at turn 7, thinking, goodness me, we have said goodbye to our championship, but it's flipped around again. Let's get reaction with Steph Wentworth.
We are here with Julien Gerby, winner of the championship here in LMP3. Julien, huge congratulations. How are you feeling now? It's super emotional for you.
It's just a roller coaster of emotion. after I got hit and I saw the position and the condition, I thought it was done. And you know, we got hit 3 times this year. 3 times we had in the race 0 point because we got hit by behind, and I just thought it was lost. So it's just fantastic. I'm so happy. It took me 20 years to get an international title. I stopped racing for such a long time. I never thought it would happen, and it's a dream come true. You know.
Huge congratulations. You're speechless. Enjoy the celebrations with the team. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
He was doing quite well for someone who was speechless, but sort of the point of where he was trying to go was just completely muddled because he's wrapped up in emotion. Races with the Spanish flag, originally though from Nice in France. The 38-year-old takes the title with his teammate who've been charging hard all year, Julien Omrion, really a star of the future. We've been saying that throughout last year as well, when he took a dominant championship victory in the Ligier European Series. Those at Nielsen can now celebrate because we have had a decision regarding the number 11 car, and it's a 10-second penalty added to car number 11, which gives the win to Nielsen Racing, Tony Wells and Josh Skelton.
Yet the number 7 car takes the race win ahead of both the CD Sport cars, so Kirill Knall falls 1 position short of the title, and then the 2 360 racing cars before we get to 6th place and the final contender in the title battle today, that would Team Tour.
It will take the number 2 car of Kirill Smal and Fabien Michel to 69 points. That means that Gerbi and Omrion win by 4.
Wow.
4 points the difference. They didn't score at all, of course, in the race. They took pole position yesterday, so it'll be 73 versus 69. But the key was
they're just getting that message
just
now.
The news now. Yeah.
You've not won. Oh dear.
Well, they're still on the podium, which is one saving grace, but there is Shahan Sarkisian with the spectacles, and the bad news being broken to them. At least, I suppose, they don't stand on the top step of the podium and are shown the disappointment afterwards. They will be on the podium, as mentioned. It could have been a lot worse than that because of those gaps between the safety car. Although, having said that, 10-second penalty, I just wonder whether that's been done on times prior to everything being bunched up. So effectively they've been docked 2 places, yeah, rather than being given the full 10 seconds.
The gap prior to that was 7 seconds. So they had a 7 second, I think mainly because of where the cars were in the overall order behind the safety car. So even if you did it 1 lap back, it's still a safety car lap.
Yeah. But, well, the way it's been weaved in, it's been announced as a 10-second penalty to be added to the next stop. But, of course, the 11 car won't stop again. Nobody will stop again. So I just wonder whether that's been converted into effectively dropping the car 2 positions from first on the road to 3rd position on the podium. Quite a story, quite a season finale. It always is here at the Algarve International Circuit. We got underway behind the safety car at 9 o'clock this morning. 40 cars trying to work out how best to approach this trying track with a lot of rainfall this morning. In the end, it wasn't anywhere near as bad as it would be towards the end, which would force the race into an early finish. But there was certainly no shortage of action with, first of all, the 17 EDEC Sport car skating off into the gravel behind the safety car, and that meant that some recovery for Patrice Lafargue was necessary. Then the lights on the Mercedes were extinguished and we were racing for the first time, and a really good dice at the head of the order between Julien Gerbi and Shahan Sarkisian for Team Virage and CD Sport respectively. Here they are coming out of turn 13 and into 14, but then we thought there was contact between Torsten Kratz and Oscar Bitter. In the end, that was judged to be, or Torsten Kratz judged to be, in the innocent party there. No further action on that incident, but it did significantly delay Oscar Bitter on the number 59 car, the Paraguayan. GT3, Alex Martin leading that from Hiroshi Hamaguchi. They were inseparable in the first 25 minutes, really, of the race. And a good opening stint from Shahan Sarkisian, pressurising Julien Gerbi throughout. Couldn't find an opportunity to get by, though. And as these two duelled, that rather drew in Torsten Kratz in the Murphy prototypes, Duquesne in third position. Meanwhile, the fight at the head of the order in GT3 is getting no less close, and far less than a car length between them for the majority of the time. Good overtake here, although forceful for Torsten Kratz to feed his way up the inside of Shahan Sarkisian, and Sarkisian given no opportunity to cut back onto the road at turn number 11. But this was a lot more brutal from Torsten Kratz. Either he misjudged his braking point or he didn't expect Julien Gerby to brake where he did. Nevertheless, Kratz into the back of the Spaniard meant that the number 16 car would go off into the gravel and would need to be recovered. And obviously that would send the 16 car way down off the lead lap, and all of a sudden Team Virage with their number 16 car entirely dependent on where their rivals finished, because they were well out of the points. Tony Wells dicing with the number 25 360 racing car. This though a spin for Charlie Bateman, who is the pro in that number 64 car, and we saw a number of pros unfortunately leaving the road in the horrible rain then that started to fall menacingly. And as soon as you get golds and silver rated drivers unable to control the car because of aquaplaning, the safety car came out, and then eventually the red flag would bring an early halt to the race. We got to just beyond 90 minutes before the red flag was issued. We were due to be racing for 20 minutes more. However, the victory in GT3 goes the way of Vincent Abril in the race. The championship goes to the 10 car of Racing Spirit of Le Mans, and it's a championship to, well done to the guys in Team Virage, to Julien Gerby and Julien Omrion. And here are the results for today's race. Nielsen Racing finishing second on the road, but after 36 laps there, given the win because of an infringement under the full course yellow and the speeds for the number 11 car. And they, in the end, dropped to third position. So second place for the number 2 of Kirill Smal and his teammate Fabien Michel. They miss out on the championship by 4 points. Frank Chapard, third, fourth position for Tommy Foster. It's a good result for 360 Racing, fourth and fifth. GT3 honours going the way of Iron Lynx for the Lamborghini of Hiroshi Hamaguchi and Vincent Abril. But the championship to the second place car, Racing Spirit of Le Mans, their second title in as many years in the Michelin Le Mans Cup, for Arnold Robin and Valentin Hasclot.
Yeah, so what a shame. It was a good race in parts. The weather wasn't helping, and it got far worse. I can't disagree with the decision to red flag and complete that race early, but it will be Nielsen Racing to take a win after disasters at Spa. Deserve a title to the number 16 crew from Team Virage, and what a, as he said himself, a roller coaster of emotions for them. Iron Lynx and Team Parker Racing, fine battle in the first half of that race. Charlie Bateman, though, one of the group of pro drivers to lose control in those conditions. But it's going to be time for the podium.
So a disappointed duo from CD Sport, but they do at least get to stand on the podium. Shahan Sarkisian with a terrific opening stint, and Frank Chapard taking over. But unfortunately, that car found to be in breach of the regulations as per the full course yellow speeds. A nice embrace there though from teammates from the number 2 car, also CD Sport, Fabien Michel and Kirill Smal finishing second, but missing out on the title by a mere 4 points. But the win will go to Josh Skelton and Tony Wells. Big smiles from the British squad, Nielsen Racing. And a matter for them to have to wait a little bit. They don't get to park their car beneath the podium, but they do get to stand on top of it. And Nielsen Racing with the British national anthem. It may well have stopped raining now as well, perfectly timed. Never nice to be standing on a podium in the pouring down rain. Let's pause for the national anthem of the winning team.
And we are ready for the national anthem for the winning team, Great Britain.
Nielsen Racing take the final victory of the season for the Michelin Le Mans Cup, and a nice boost in their championship position as a result. Real disappointment in the CD Sport camp on two factors, actually. They've missed out on the championship. They've also missed out on a race win because of a post-race decision that we got very much ample warning of. And now the celebratory music can begin on the podium as some very smart trophies are held aloft.
Yeah, Nielsen Racing didn't wait to be presented, just grabbed them.
Yeah, too right. Grab them and run.
Quick before they change their minds. But Tony Wells has been quite used to top step of the podium, but I think that might be Josh Skelton's first win.
I'll have to check the archives for that, but I can't immediately remember a chance for Skelton to stand on top of the podium. So congratulations, Josh, if that is the case. They haven't necessarily had the luck through the course of the year. There's been the odd mistake, unfortunately, for the number 7 car as well, but they kept it clean in a real difficult race to do so. And depending on their plans for next year, it might be the start of a few victories for that driving combination. Tony Wells, of course, a long-standing driving partner with Colin Noble in the past.
There you have it. That's the end of an eventful, very eventful Michelin Le Mans Cup season. Winning drivers there with their team manager Stewie Mosley, man who knows what ACO Racing's all about, driver back in the day, and now valued team manager rather, of Nielsen Racing. Horrible conditions to finish, but it finishes with the penalised number 11 CD Sport car in third, the charging, title contending CD Sport number 2 car in second, but the win, as you were saying, is going to go to the number 7 Nielsen Racing car. It's a Ligier 1-2-3, by the way. Ligier's completing the top 10 places. The next place down was not a Duquesne, it was a Lamborghini.
Yeah, really good result on the whole for GT3, and evidence of sometimes that's the favoured car to have in stormy conditions, and a very good result for the Italian squad with the very Italian Raging Bull Lamborghini. Here are the points. It is 4, the difference in the end between Team Virage and CD Sport, the number 2 car. Team Tour finished third, 10 further points back. Nielsen Racing with their number 4 car are 4th, ahead of Cool Racing and the best of the 2 360 Racing offerings, number 26. That's the entry for Terence Woodward and Tommy Foster. And further down the order, today's winners on the road, third place finishers eventually, CD Sport. They get 15 points for that result, and that moves them to 11th place in the final standings. Here's the GT3 podium then, and Team Parker Racing, the bottom step with their number 18 car. Nick Jones absolutely ecstatic with that result, joined by Scott Malvern. The championship winners finished second for Valentin Hasclo and his teammate Arnaud Robin. So congratulations to Racing Spirit of Le Mans, LMP3 champions in 2022. They're now GT3 champions in 2023. But the final race win goes to number 63 Iron Lynx for Hiroshi Hamaguchi and Vincent Abril with their Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo 2. And it will be the national anthem of Italy that we hear for the GT3 winners. The national anthem of Italy for the race winners, Iron Licks, and Hiroshi Hamaguchi drove superbly well there, I feel.
Brilliantly.
Vincent Abril didn't have a great deal to do, actually, in the closing stages, because much of that was behind the safety car.
But no, excellent result there for the team, and you're right, brilliant stuff from the Japanese gentleman driver. Highly experienced gentleman racer, but in these conditions, that takes quite something, doesn't it? I think you were saying, by the way, to correct something I said earlier, Josh Skelton.
Josh Skelton has won a Michelin Le Mans Cup race, at least one. I found the victory at Spa-Francorchamps in 2021 when he was with Cool Racing. Okay. So 2 years ago, winning with Antoine Duquin on that occasion. But a change of team, and that will be his first win with Nielsen Racing. So here are the very smart trophies that incorporate the Algarve International Circuit track map. And now a chance to make already a very soggy podium even wetter, but with the bubbly, which tastes an awful lot better, I can assure you. And now some rather damp race suits as well will start to stink for the next couple of hours, I'm sure, but nobody will mind one jot, because that was tough for an hour and a half, not really knowing in which direction we would head next, and would the car even be kept on the road. These 6 guys did that expertly well. And congratulations, extra congratulations to Arnold Robin and to Valentin Hasclot, who take the championship in the number 10 Aston Martin from Racing Spirit of Le Mans for the second time in as many years. A Michelin Le Mans Cup trophy is going back to Geneva, Switzerland, to Racing Spirit of Le Mans base.
Yeah, another chapter closes, and now we start to get into the next phase of this. Who's going back to have a go next year? A different look to the calendar for the Michelin Le Mans Cup. But one of the big draws, of course, is the Road to Le Mans races. That remains. It's the provisional championship points in GT3. 20 points to the good at the end from a great run through the season for Racing Spirit Le Mans and Aston Martin. Of course, with a brand new Ferrari 296, 20 points off the 51 car, and HCR with Caffeine 6. We're right there at times, but a couple of bad results cost them dear. They fall 24 points short. 4th, Lippert Motorsports, with a couple of great results for them, just a point back in 4th.
And from a driver's perspective, Arnold Robin, Valentin Hasclot are the champions again by 20 points from the 2 Japanese, Koizumi and Cossolino. And as fuel-back, Tim Kresick are 3rd with their HCR car ahead of Gabriele Rindoni, Patrick Kuyala, Nick Jones and Scott Mulvern. And that 3rd place finish, 15 points to Jones and Mulvern, will really jump them up in the final standings to 5th place. It's Julien Henrion and Julien Gerby who are the new LMP3 Le Mans Cup drivers' champions by only 4 points ahead of Fabien Michal and Kirill Smal, who finished 2nd today. Auden Gudmundsson, Colin Noble are 6th in the race, 3rd in the championship, and sadly retirement for the 4th place championship runners, John Melsom and Matt Bell. So quite a season. Certainly all 4 seasons in 1 year, and it's been very much autumnal/wintry conditions, sadly, today, which meant that we didn't quite get to the maximum driving time. But I think worthy champions from the year, Graham.
100%. There were thrills, there were spills, and that was just the first half an hour here. But it's been the same through the season. We've had some great driving, we've had some not so great driving, but it will be, I'm sure, another reset ahead of 2024, Johnny.
A delight to call this championship, as always, through 2023. Don't forget, we've got a European Le Mans Series race still to happen at 1 o'clock this afternoon. From Steph Wentworth, Graham Goodwin and me, Johnny Palmer, we'll see you next year for the Michelin Le Mans Cup.